Hello everybody, welcome to Peteman Reviews on Tour. As I've said in previous reviews, we are on tour at my brother Simon's house where he has some unusual and different Transformers. These three are the three Nebulon ones he has. Now, none of them are perfect, but they're all a little bit unusual in some respects. So, the obvious elephant in the room is Brainstorm. The legs would ratchet back here, however these joints are incredibly stiff and I don't want to ratchet them back for fear of them breaking. I don't know if that's a problem with just this one or if that's a problem with all Brainstorms, but the ratchet is very, very stiff on that. He does have this little Nebulon guy there, minus an arm, but again, these guys are old. To have a Nebulon alone is quite an achievement. Transforming him, is actually quite a simplistic transformation, something which is fairly common with the original, and indeed many of the latter releases of the Headmasters and things, is the simplicity of the transformation. This is extremely tight in here. Okay, so I've needed to get a pen here because this is incredibly stiff here. So you can, fortunately with the way the holes are here, you can actually insert that to take that out. Very, very stiff in general. Pop these round like that, arms go up, out rotate the hands. You recognise this is a common feature of modern Transformers now, although there's usually some covering, but the idea that the hands rotate into the arms. That comes down and then these come out like that. Our headless Headmaster. Nebulon rotates down. Interestingly, these have actually got a little face panel here to cover the head when he's in Nebulon mode. Not something you see on Headmasters afterwards, the smaller ones. And indeed Titan's Return and Legends figures don't have this either. The original release of the Headmasters are the only ones that have the panel on there. Pop the head in. Worth putting with the readout here, so it's like that. You pop the head in and there's the gimmick for all to see. All told, it's very square and chunky, and he is very much of the arm waggle. But not too bad design. The head is where they've done all the detailing for it. But yeah, not too bad. Mindwipe came out at the same time. Now he's obviously in a wolf mode here. There is a nice leather effect on the wings, but otherwise it's a bit too boxy really to be a wolf. A wolf? A bat. I don't know what I'm talking about sometimes. And you can just see those are meant to be the claws on the bat, but unfortunately health and safety I think has got in the way of that. Transformation wise, this pops out like that and down goes the head. Now this will rotate all the way up here, out of the way. Legs come down. This is actually the rear of the robot in his robot mode. Wings come down, bays flip out like that. The arms are here and the hands are stored in here. Interestingly, in both cases, the actual hand mode there should be a little piece of plastic which has come off here, so we could mess around trying to pull the hands out, but I'm not going to because you know how it will work. Now, when we got this guy, he didn't come with a head, and the head for any Headmaster is quite expensive. For Mindwipe, there is actually a guy that's making reproductions of him. He's very loose compared to the original, however, it is a faithful copy of the original. So you can, with your headless Headmaster, get something that works. And it even works with the display as well. So that's quite a good little touch. And let's face it, otherwise you have a headless robot, which isn't good for anybody. Okay, Joyride, a Power Master. So these came out the year after these guys did. And they continued very much the trend, but with a new gimmick, that of the Power Master, which would sit there to form the engine. Good detailing on this car, particularly along the front here. You've obviously got a winch system there. You've got the impression of springs. In terms of robot, well, let's have a look. Now, we don't have the Nebulon, so you have to push this in order to engage the transformation. That flips out like that. This will come forward like that. And that's the arms. Surprisingly, he does have jointed arms. The head, however, doesn't seem to be able to see over there, which is odd. I'm just checking having a look. No hints that that's not fully engaged. Right, that's fully clicked in. The head doesn't rotate or anything. Ah, of course. This does. If we just pop the arms back, I don't know if they will go back, but we'll just pop the arms up here, rotate the chest around. There we are. Otherwise, I was going to say that's ridiculous if you can't see over his own chest plate. So there's the robot. It has to be said the robot is a disappointment compared to the car. Unusually, he does have elbows. Very few Transformers of this age did have elbows. And he has quite a decent range of movement with his arms. So we all remember Power Master Prime. He can waggle his arms up and down, and that's it. He can waggle his arms up and down, and he actually has a bend to them. I'm a bit disappointed here. I mean, this does rotate, which is good, but the way to rotate it is you have to... it is fiddly. You have to kind of try and get these out of the way, rotate round. Everything gets in the way to rotate it. There we are. So, a bit disappointed down here, even with this the right way around, because the spoiler doesn't move at all. So you can see this is clearly meant to be feet, but the spoiler gets in the way. If that could flip down or up, it would just look a bit better. So all told, in a car mode, you can see how much shorter it is than the originals as well. Yeah, I've got to say that looks worse actually than Brainstorm and Mindwipe do. The car mode I thought was very good, but the robot mode, less so. On to a bit of a rarity. Very poor condition, as you can tell. It appears to have been tuned in places. This is a Japanese version of the so-called Brainformers, which came out in the UK. Now these were released in Europe in I think 93 or 92. They weren't released in the US, and they came out in Japan about 88, 89. They were part of the Transformers Victory range. Now, in the Japanese version, they actually all combine together. There's three of them that combine to form one robot. Three to be a combiner sounds a bit odd. You've got one for one leg, and the other one to be the arms, the stomach, and the chest. So we had huge legs and teeny tiny arms. Ridiculous. They didn't have that combining ability in the UK. Well, they could combine, but you didn't have any of the equipment, so you just had a strange slab. I didn't know about that at the time. I only found that out after reading Transformers Wiki. This actually does have his Nebulon original. He's armless, in fact that's probably not a bad representation of the combined form of them all. And this is a different variation on the Nebulon combiner. It's not really a Power Master, but he acts like a Power Master and a Headmaster in one. I'll explain as we go. Transformation. It harks back very much to the original G1 designs in that you just flip up like this. It's a bit stiff because this has been probably decades since it was transformed. This flips down like that, flips up like that. Again, you've got the good old hand stored in the arms again, but it's very much a waggle, and because of this, this is all really old kit here. It falls apart a bit. He's got no head. That goes in there, and then your Nebulon sits in there, and it actually slides up to produce a head. Bit bizarre, really. The legs with this bizarre movement like this is actually a leftover of the combining process. Yeah, it's an oddity. It really is. It's not very stable, but I think a lot of that is just due to the age. Interestingly, it's actually got metal in it. Really rare for a Transformer of any age, but particularly one of the... So this is actually... Well, it's a G2 or G1.5 in the UK. It's actually a G1 base mould to have metal in it. So there we are. A few oddities there. None of them are complete. But they all just give you a different idea of the different versions of the Power Master, the Headmaster, and the Chest Master process, the Brainformer process. It's just a bit bit unusual some what you can get out there. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next review. Goodbye.